so in love with you.
Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is gonna be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and right now, you guys, we have a foreclosure crisis that is forming. And depending on the efficiency, the continued efficiency of loan modification and the surge of unemployment, that is gonna dictate just how bad the foreclosure crisis gets. And today, what we're gonna do is analyze Black Knight's new updated report about the foreclosures for the month of November. And then we're going to compare where we're at right now after today's report versus at the beginning of the year. And then I'm also going to show you guys additional charts so that we can visualize some data so that I can actually show you what's going on right now compared to what happened in 2008 as far as derogatory and loan performance and things of that nature. So I'm really hoping, guys, that this is going to be a great video. Now, do me a favor, understand I'm not a financial advisor. Even if I want to be yours, even if you want me to be yours, I'm not. Even though my bio is as a realtor, loan officer, and instructor in all things real estate. So if you guys can, please understand, it's just my personal YouTube channel. So please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, shoot me a comment below, hit notifications, and please, guys, share this video. But where I want to start is by jumping into the article from Black Knight that's titled Black Knight's First Look at November 2022 Mortgage Data. Prepayments hit third consecutive record low in November, while mortgage delinquencies top 3% and foreclosure starts bounce 19%. So let's dig into this a little bit more, guys. Now, obviously, the prepayment activity I'm not really looking at, like refinances and things of that nature, but the national delinquency rate did rise another 3.5% in November to 3.01%. That's up 10 basis points since October, driven by 31,000 increase in 30-day delinquencies and a 25,000 rise in 60-day delinquencies. The delinquency rate in Florida rose another 18 basis points in the month to 3.6% as the impact of Hurricane Ian is felt on homeowners' ability to make mortgage payments. So obviously, you guys, Florida is actually starting to suffer. We're actually going to see Florida enter one of the top 5 states for increased delinquency rate. So I'm going to get to that, guys, towards the end of this video. Now, the next thing is improvement among serious past due loans continue to stagnate. This is especially important because it's starting to show that loan modification is, potentially not working as effectively. Now, it is stagnating with the population of 90-day delinquencies actually ticking down slightly by 0.2% from the prior month. Now, foreclosure starts rose again 19% on the heels of October's increase, but the month's 23.4 thousand starts are still below the recent high seen in June 2022 and remain 30% below pre-pandemic levels. This is very important. I'm going to get to this in a minute. Foreclosure was started on 4.3% of serious delinquencies, and this is what we want to watch for. In November, up 7 basis points from October, but still 44% less than the rate seen in the years leading to the pandemic. Active foreclosure inventory also rose 5.3% through 2022. Volumes remain subdued after the record lows of 2021 due to the widespread moratoriums and forbearance protections. So in other words, you guys, almost all of the bad things are getting worse. I'm about to visualize all the data that we just read, but I do want to make a point. All of the people that have already had loan modifications, so they're out of the foreclosure pool, they've got loan modifications, probably had their mortgage turned into a 40-year loan. Remember, guys, those people, right, everyone that's already gone through loan modification are still at risk, okay? More than likely, a substantial amount of those people are trapped in their house upside down. And let me tell you this, because I get this a lot. People say just buy right now because if you can hold for 5 to 7 years, it's fine. The thing is, guys, of the 1.9 million people in delinquency right now, how many of those people do you really think didn't think that they were going to keep their house for 5 to 7 years? I think most of those people, the almost 2 million people behind right now, I think most of those people actually thought they were going to hold on to their house to 5 to 7 years, but something that they didn't see coming happened in life. And that's what I'm saying to you guys about foreclosures. That's why you have to be so prepared. But also remember what I also said, loan modification. as these companies get more and more people in default, it's very likely that these lenders and these banks are going to get inundated and overwhelmed with loan modification. The moment they get overwhelmed with loan modification, foreclosures will skyrocket. So the question is how well will these lenders be able to handle when the foreclosure bubble pops and there's millions of people that are going to start requesting loan modification? That's the question that I have, because the reality is, the good news is as well, loan modification is proving incredibly effective. But the problem is, guys, that effectiveness is wearing out, and you're going to see that as we move on into the video. All right, guys, take a look at this chart. You may be more and more familiar with it, but I've already highlighted, all of the main data sets that are actually, worsening in red, and the two that are actually getting better in green. So I'm going to go over this, line by line. But as you can see here, the total delinquency rate is up 3.46% to a total of 3%, which means 3% of people with a mortgage right now are delinquent. That's a lot. Historically, it's not that much, though, which is the shocking thing. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, total U.S. foreclosure pre-sale inventory did go up 5.29% month over month to 0.37%. Total U.S. foreclosure starts increased. This is a bad number. This is a lot. Starts increased just month over month, almost 20%. Obviously, year over year, 532. We're not really looking at that. We're mainly looking at month over month. We have an additional 23,400 households, unfortunately, guys, that have started the foreclosure process. Now, foreclosure sales are down month over month by 6.73%. Now, moving down to this next line, the number of properties that are 30 days or more past due, but not in foreclosure, actually went up 55,000 month over month to 1.6 million people. The number of properties 90 days or more past due actually went down 1,000, and this is the biggest pull at risk. It's 550,000 homes. This is the biggest pull at risk. Number of properties in foreclosure pre-sale inventory is up as well, 10,000 units. And actually, guys, I meant 1.8 million people. 1.9 was the beginning of this year. 1.8 is where we're at now. Now, remember, this is essentially a reset year. So we're in a reset year for foreclosures, right? So really, it's going to start spiraling and spiraling into next year, because we're coming out of historical record equity growth and, foreclosure bans. So obviously that's going to take a play. But look at this last thing here. Number of properties that are 30 days or more past due but not in foreclosure, up 65,000 households month over month to now 1.8 million households. So I'm going to show you historically, how much 1.8 is. But you guys, in my opinion, 1.8 million households is a lot of households that are already behind on their mortgage, considering, again, record high equity growth, foreclosure ban, and efficiency and loan modification. These things shouldn't be happening, right? And obviously all of the stimulus. So what it tells me is that, these people have spent all their money and are now leaning on lenders to guide them through foreclosure. And again, you guys, this is what I'm saying. That's a good thing. We want the lenders to keep people in their houses. But my concern, what I'm telling you, is two things. Number one, lenders get inundated. They can no longer be as generous with loan modifications, because as it stands right now, the foreclosure process takes on average 1,183 days. So the more inundated, the more that days will shrink and people will be forced to be out of their house much sooner. The other thing is this. All of the existing people in loan modification, if they can actually get back on their feet, they'll be okay. But I am saying that there's probably going to be a large portion of people that are already through this process, made it out to loan modification. As we go into 2023, more quantitative tightening, things get more tighter, more unaffordable. Those same people that went through foreclosure process in loan mods, they're going to come back to the table and ask the lenders for help. But the problem is, guys, their loan is already modified, right? So those are the things that I see happening. Plus, unemployment is also going to have an effect. Let me show you guys the next set of data now. Now, I found this especially intriguing. This is basically the top 5 states with a 6-month change in non-current percentage. So these are the states that are rapidly, showing signs of delinquency status. Okay. So take a look at this. Florida hit number 1. Florida is the number 1 state right now, surging in delinquencies, probably as a result of the hurricane and natural disaster, but also overwhelming unaffordability to all of the locals, right? Because there's so much migration into Florida. But take a look at this, you guys, a 25% increase in 6 months, right? So now Florida is above the average at 4% of households with a mortgage now delinquent. To me, absolutely shocking. But also what's shocking, guys, look at Arizona. Arizona is also on this list at an increase of 21%. That one hit me by surprise. So I was like, why is Arizona surging in delinquencies? So Arizona is surging in delinquencies. I think the reason that is, obviously, there's a lot of tech heavy areas that are seeing unemployment, but also unaffordability, right? Arizona is like it's like Austin or Boise, specifically Phoenix. So I believe that Arizona is having a surge in non-payments as a result of unaffordability. I don't know for sure, but it's very intriguing. Number 3 is Wyoming, followed by Iowa, and then South Dakota. But again, look at these massive surges. Incredible, you guys, absolutely incredible. Keep your eyes on these states. So take a look at this chart. Now, this is what I want to explain to you on this chart. I want to show you guys the relationship with low credit or lower credit versus delinquency rate, because essentially, you guys, this is why people get penalized for lower credit scores. If you have a low credit score, you're going to get a higher interest rate because it's more risky for the lender. And you guys can see that right here. But this is the delinquency rate for FHA loans that represents 6 months after it closed. Okay, so after an FHA mortgage closed, this is the percentage of delinquency rate in 6 months. Okay, so crazy, guys. This green line represents a FICO score below 680. Look at how much further FICO scores under 680 are ballooning up. It's almost at 8% delinquency rate for FHA mortgages under 680 credit score. Shocking to me. Absolutely shocking, almost 8%. This is what, things to come, because if you guys look, going back, we haven't had this level of, delinquency for FHA mortgages since 2009. We haven't had this much delinquency in FHA since 2009. Do you guys see what's coming? Do you guys see what's coming, right? Foreclosure is a slow process. Do you see what's coming? Look at everything else. Now, the best credit score tier is in gray, and that is well under 2%. So, in the gray is probably at 1% versus about 8% for low credit. So according to this, it's 8 times more likely that people go into delinquency if their score is under 680 versus if it's over 760. Isn't that really wild to you guys? 8 times more likely. And this right here is why interest rates and terms are worse the lower your credit. I mean, they play the market. Absolutely incredible. But I also want to point out this, you guys, as far as credit score between 680 and 719, that's this light blue line right here. This is the highest it's ever been. Going back to 2000, it's never been this high. Again, the delinquency rate on FHA mortgages in the last 6 months after origination, 680 to 719, has never been this high going back to the year of 2000. And you guys, it probably has a lot to do with unaffordability. As you guys can see here, this is the payment to income ratio. And this represents essentially how much someone's median household income goes to paying off just the mortgage. Again, just the mortgage. So if you see right here, you guys, we're currently sitting at 37.4%, and this is going to update in a couple weeks. When it updates, I'll actually do a report on that. But it hasn't been this unaffordable since, the 1980s. So it's really crazy. We have so many different things happening right now that are slamming together. Like we have great loan modification, we had great equity surges, we had abandoned foreclosures. The unfortunate thing, though, everything is way more overpriced and unaffordable than it has ever been in a very, very long time, at least since the 1980s, right? And we've never seen this type of delinquency surge. Do you hear me? The delinquency surge right now, which is a sign of things to come, has never surged at this rate. You guys just saw the chart. And look at how unaffordable things are. Let's move on to the next chart. Now, this is important because I believe that we're going to see the most defaults and delinquencies in the most unaffordable areas. So I want to show you guys that right now, starting with 50. So this is actually the most unaffordable, which is Los Angeles, San Diego, San Jose, San Francisco. So we have 4 cities all located in California that are the most overpriced cities. And guess what, guys? Those cities have all been on the year-over-year price decline list. So not only are these the most unaffordable cities, these cities have the most people trapped upside down in their house because all of those cities have been on and are currently, I believe they're all still currently, minus San Diego, on the year-over-year price decline list, right? Do you guys see the correlation here? I mean, isn't that wicked to you guys? And then that's followed by Las Vegas, Miami, New York, Riverside's on the list as well, Seattle and Sacramento's on the list. I mean, California's melting down. These are the cities that you guys are going to want to pay attention to as far as where the foreclosure is going to happen. I'm telling you guys right now, it's going to be all over California like it always is, in Las Vegas like it always is, probably in Miami. I think we're going to see a lot of foreclosures in Miami. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how many investors pick up those homes. Let's move on to the next set of data. So I really wanted to show you guys this because this is super important. I really wanted to point out where we were at the beginning of the year, okay? So at the beginning of the year, guys, we actually had 1.9 million people in delinquency, okay? Beginning of the year. So we have less people in delinquency right now. But again, the beginning of the year, coming out of foreclosure ban, people could sell, people could refinance, people had way more options at the beginning of the year than they do now. Plus, it wasn't as unaffordable at the beginning of the year. But I also want you guys to point out this. Look, we started the year at 859,000 households in serious delinquency, okay? We've got that down to 550. So all of these people in this road, this is what I'm saying, that got through loan modification are at risk. These people are at risk of doing it again because things are more unaffordable. But also look at this. Again, 1,183 days from delinquency to foreclosure. So loan modification is absolutely flourishing right now. It's keeping people in their house. All right, guys. So here's the Fred economic data unemployment rate. And this is the thing that I think is really going to line up with foreclosures. I think that if unemployment goes up 1%, you're going to see foreclosures go up 1%, right? Or at least delinquencies go up 1%. I don't know for sure if that's going to happen. But again, you guys, I think unemployment and foreclosure are going to go hand in hand and not necessarily home prices and foreclosure, because we already know home prices are going down right now without historical foreclosures. All right. But it's surging. But look at this, guys. The problem is the unemployment rate's too low. I mean, it's at 3.7%, and the Fed is beating this down, the labor market down, and they're quite frankly having a lot of trouble at banging down the unemployment rate. So, a byproduct of that is going to be the housing market. It's going to be people being trapped in their house. It's all of the quantitative tightening, because it's going to be really, really hard to get that unemployment number down. And again, you guys, it should be hard because we're coming out of COVID. We created a labor market to withstand COVID lockdowns. So unfortunately, in order for the Fed to get this unemployment rate up into the 4 and 5%, they're going to have to do some braking, some heavy, heavy braking. And, here's what I believe, guys. I don't think the Fed is going to be able to take us to a soft landing. I don't think so. I think that in order for us to reset the market, which we need it to be reset, I think they're going to overcorrect. And I think that we will see foreclosures potentially blow up. And I think it's going to appear, I think it's going to feel like it was overnight. I think we're going to wake up one day and say, oh, here's all of the foreclosures. So that's what I suspect coming. But again, you guys, it's going to depend on loan modification, unemployment, and what the Federal Reserve does as far as when they decide to pivot. But I really hope you guys understand where we're at right now with foreclosures is historically, it's not too bad, right? But the surging of delinquencies, the loan surging of delinquencies is historical right now. And I hope you guys pay attention to that. And again, the last point is more than likely the foreclosure crisis. Well, it's going to happen in California first. That's what I believe. But more than likely, it's going to happen in the cities that are the most unaffordable, because not only are they now unaffordable, people are also trapped in their house, more than likely upside down, because most of those cities are on the year-over-year price decline list. Now, other than that, guys, I really appreciate you following along with me on this journey, and I really hope you guys got some value, insights, and perspective. And if you're out there investing in real estate, I wish you luck, and I hope you win.